Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews, it's your number one source. Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
Welcome to episode 122 of SCN. Happy to be back. Must be Friday, but happy whatever day you're listening to us. My guest today on today's show has been with VaynerMedia, Gary V's company, for double-digit years. He's known Gary for over 20, so has worked quite extensively with him in everything, and cards including at the National in 2019. He does his own podcast with his two co-hosts, Tyler and Ryan, CardTalk Pod, and happy to have him on the show today. Lou Geneux will be my guest, and from New Jersey, and reminds me, we have similar way of going about things, and what I mean by that is we're not the type of guys that mince words, say what we feel, regardless of what someone's going to think about it, even if we know it may not be a majority opinion. And I was actually surprised we had a few things in common, more than I even realized. The National was both, the 2019 National was both our first National, and we'll share some notes and thoughts about that as well. We're going to talk about, obviously, the hot topic of the hour, right, the grading space. But we're going to talk a lot about the hobby, where it's going, the old age-old million-dollar question, correction or crash, and we're going to cover all those bases. And real happy to have Lou on, really good dude, and hopefully we'll have him on again. It was quick. We talked for an hour, and it seemed like it was 10, 15 minutes. The time just flew right by. So great to have him on. So what else happened since the last time we talked here on Sports Card Nation? Well, got the COVID vaccine, got the Johnson & Johnson one-shot deal. Really impressed with the process of it all. Was at the State Fairgrounds here in Syracuse, New York, where they have the State Fair. And then they built a new expo center 2 years ago, and they had the shots going on there, and my wife got me an appointment, and from the time I entered the building to the time I left was 45 minutes. Very, very impressed, very streamlined. You just wish graded cards would be that efficient, right, coming back. But, all joking aside, I was in there, 45 minutes from walking in to walking out. And very impressed. I'm a nervous kind of guy when it comes to medical stuff, and just the fact that it didn't take long was a lot of ease off my mind. So, and that includes 15 minutes of having after you get the shot, waiting to make sure you don't have allergic reaction. So I was the last one in my household to get vaccinated. So now my whole house is vaccinated. It's the right thing to do to help yourself and to help others. And one of the other reasons I got it, besides the obvious ones like that, is I plan to do more traveling in support of the show, starting next month, going to the Dallas show. But I want to start hitting some other shows around the country like that. So Virginia, maybe Chantilly, different areas. I like to travel. I like to jump on a plane and go to those places. And so looking forward to doing that here and there a little bit more. And to do that, you really need to be vaccinated. Some airlines won't even let you travel without it, and so it's you got to have it. So so we should be all set now. So, well, with that being said, let's get this show underway. Time for this week's
Incoming!
product releases. All right, let's talk about what's coming out in the market this week, release-wise. Now, again, remember, with the pandemic and some issues with supply chain, these are all obviously tentatively subject to change. We've seen a lot of stuff get delayed, like Artifacts Golf, and things can get delayed even more than once. So these are all obviously tentative, and hopefully there's no issues. The 14th, 2020-21 Upper Deck Series 2 retail-wise and blasters. 2020-21 Panini Origins Basketball. 2020 Panini National Treasures Football. On the 16th, we've got 2021 Panini Obsidian Soccer. The last on the schedule this week, 2020 Panini Select H2 Football.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoy the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
It's time for the Hobby What's Up, where we go around the hobby world and tell you all the latest news and breaking stories from the hobby we love.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Well, money's going to be the heavy theme of this week's hobby news, as it really has been for the last couple years. Let's start with the big story. Topps, who used to be publicly traded company, they're going to go back to that, being led by Michael Eisner, former Disney head. They're going back on NASDAQ. They're going to be acquired through a special purpose acquisition company, also known as a SPAC. That company, is Mudrick Capital. What SPAC is? It's a shell company set up to raise capital through IPOs, and then they sort of kind of make their profit and move along, if you will. So, Topps is going to be publicly traded. You get 2 years to find sort of a private company looking to go public. Estimated $1.3 billion. Topps made a $92 million profit in 2020 as announcements were made pertaining to profits. 65% of their business is cards and we'll call it memorabilia, and then 35% comes from the candy side. What does this mean? I think card wise, you're going to see maybe more releases. I think you're going to see them kind of do maybe what Panini does with some non-licensed stuff, still produce it potentially, or try to. And they're going to do the NFTs. I mean, everyone is doing the NFTs. Whether I like it or not doesn't matter. You're going to just see Topps get in that game. I'm expecting to see them probably partner or team up somehow with Major League Baseball to do that. So, we'll see. But, I don't think it's big news. I don't think it's going to be, change much of what they do, just maybe more offerings and the NFT. And frankly, the NFT was going to happen anyway for them. I just think this makes it, I think this just fast tracks it for him. Staying on the money deal, StarStock got another $8 million investment from the Anderson Horowitz firm. Also, one of the investors of that group is, Hawks basketball player Trae Young. We're seeing a lot of athletes get into the investment space, and on the side of collectibles and sports cards more than ever. I mean, a lot of athletes invest. I'm not saying that they aren't, but I think we're seeing them get more into the sports card, the collectible game. It's not. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it brings more attention to the hobby. So if you're one of those hobbyists that sort of wants it to be their own little secret, these kind of news stories aren't going to be up your alley. But StarStock's getting $8 million to do enhancements and improvements. And one of the things they announced, they are designing a mobile app. So there will be a StarStock mobile app at some point. No timetable yet, but those things actually happen pretty quick. So don't be surprised that doesn't happen pretty soon here. All right, breaking news. Another record goes down. Literally a month after the previous record goes down for a Brady's Contender rookie auto. The previous record was $1.32 million for a BAS or BGS 8. And now, a month later, through Leland's auction, another Brady's Contender brought $2.25 million, highest football card ever sold. And this one was a BAS 8.5, so a little higher of a grade. Not a whole lot, half point there, 8 to 8.5. And, just the market, just especially on this high end, just continues to thrive. All right, a little late news story just came across my email front as I was doing the post here. ComC has announced a couple new service levels. They announced they have opened a bigger facility into a bigger building as of March, so last month, but they made it official. And they have 3 new levels, or they're sort of redesigned their levels, if you will. Like I said, this is literally fresh info, so I don't have all the details. The press release was sort of vague, if you will, so don't quote me on any of these. 2 new submission levels, first 2 I should say, not just to standard and select, are 50 cents a card to submit to. Nothing can be over $100. Can't have anything worth over $100 or more. They're promising, or I don't know if they're promising, but they're stressing 2-week turnaround from when they're entered. And the third level is one called Elite. This is for cards $100 or more. That one is $2 per card to submit. These are the only cards I believe that can go to their eBay auctions now. I think have to come from their Elite submission level. Again, this is all just fresh, hard off the press's press release. The Elite mentioned high quality photos of all submitted cards. Now the Standard and the Select didn't. So I don't know if that means that the only time you're going to have your cards now on this, or your pictures of your cards on the site, are for that Elite level. I don't know. I just noticed it said photos for the Elite, and I didn't see photos on the Standard or Select. I could be wrong on that detail. There was some other stuff with the eBay auctions and that sort of stuff. So things are changing. The market, the hobby's blowing up, and all these companies, have to make adjustments on the fly. And here's another company doing that. So we'll see. I'm sure there'll be more announcements to come, and we'll have to keep tabs as news breaks. So a little personal story in this segment. In 1982, 10-year-old me, was in the cards, but I remember for the first time I became aware of Topps baseball stickers, and I really went, hog wild as much as a 10-year-old could, buying those sticker packs, getting the album. The packs were a quarter a piece, 5 stickers. And, I was spending as much money as I could to try to, fill that book up. And I can't remember who the last sticker was. I think it was an Angel. Might have been like Rod Carew. Some reason sticks out. Maybe Bobby Grich or someone like that. And I remember placing that last sticker down in the book and feeling very accomplished in my 10-year-old self. And, thinking back, that was the first set, if you want to call it a set, I had put together. Even though I was collecting cards already, I didn't make complete sets. I had all my cards by teams, Yankees with Yankees, Padres with Padres, that sort of thing. I didn't put them in numbered order. I wasn't really interested in getting every one per se. I just had certain players or teams that I really liked and would trade for. And so that sticker album and 82 Topps stickers were the first sort of like where I felt accomplished, like I had completed something. And crazy thing was a couple months ago we did sort of a spring cleanup in the garage, and I found that album. I still have it, a little bit kind of loosey-goosey, falling apart, and I had it in my hand, and we were making a pile of stuff to throw away, and really debated, like, what am I going to do with it? And it's cool, what it means. Do I keep it? Well, I kept it. I kept it still, but I kept it in my garage. I'll leave it there. But so I thought, man, that was the first time in my collecting life that I had like a huge sense of accomplishment. 10 years old, I completed something. And so I found a box on one of the platforms. I found a complete sealed box of 1982 Topps stickers. Not very expensive at all. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy this thing. It's going to go on my wax shelf. Not for sale, not to be open. But I'm looking at it right now while doing this podcast, and going to be sort of a constant reminder. I love those kind of throwback things, those sentimental things. And so whenever I look at it, including now, it'll be a constant reminder, when I first got into this hobby, what it really was about and why I stuck around and that sort of thing. So hope you found that story a little bit interesting, but there you go.
The Sports Card Shop at MoCo is your small-town local shop with a global reach. Conveniently located in New Buffalo, Michigan. We're an easy drive for most residents in Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. Come see us every Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 5 and Sundays from 12 to 5. Want to shop from the comfort of your home? Give us a call at 269-469-0140 or visit our website at thesportscardshop@moco.com or our Facebook page. Major credit cards and PayPal accepted, and we ship anywhere in the world. We're an authorized dealer for both Panini and Topps, with new sealed wax from both arriving weekly. And yes, we have PSA and SGC graded cards and over 250,000 singles in stock. Be sure to follow us and turn on notifications for posts to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so you don't miss out on new arrivals. The Gocher family has been serving this community for over a decade, so stop by or visit us at thesportscardshop@moco.com.
I know the chunky that left these chunkies. Newman! Open the door, Newman! I know you're in there!
Sports Card Nation. All right, it's time for Newman's Rambling, where I select one question I get each week and answer it on the air.
John, you seem like an astute man.
Thank you, Mr. Walken.
Maybe you can help explain something to me.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. All right, this week another question. One of those questions that sometimes I do on this segment of the show is where I get asked multiple times. So this question was sort of asked about 3 or 4 times to me. So I figured probably the perfect question to use for this segment, and probably other people may be wondering the same thing if 3 or 4 are asking me. And the question basically was, with everything going on in the grading space, super increases, super delays, SGC going to 3 times what they were at 25 now to 75. Those that know, I do a lot with grading cards and submit usually on a regular basis. What am I going to do now? Basically, was the question, and it's not a really just one sort of one line answer. I'll start off by saying this. What am I going to do now? Probably is pause my submission. So I'm still, as I acquire cards, I'm going to put my lighted magnifying glasses on certain ones I consider candidates, and go through the process as if I was grading them tomorrow, but do the process today. Start my box that anything that passes those inspections that I believe are cards that should be slabbed, I'm going to put them in the containers that are slated to be slabbed. I'm going to put them in there, kind of in like a hold pattern. Right now I'm probably I'm not going to be able to send SGC at that level, and PSA is not taking those type of cards right now. So someone I'll have to look at maybe is CSG. I'll have to look there until they probably raise their prices. I'm not going to send everything probably that's in my grading box to them. I don't think I can do that, but maybe some. I'm not going to use HGA. I've said numerous times why, and I don't want to keep, sort of stepping on their head. If you've heard me talk about them before, or even read what I've said on social media, I've said what I've said, and my opinion really hasn't changed. I'm not sure they're going to really be around 2-3 years from now, and so I'm going to not really look at that as an avenue, and that's my opinion. More power to you. If you have a different one, that's what's great about the hobby. Is we don't have to do the exact same thing. So it's going to be probably, going back to just kind of bringing the question to a close, it's probably going to be more of a just kind of act as if I was grading currently. Cards that make that cut go into the grading box, and then probably a pause, or maybe CSG, or we'll see what happens. The grading space, every week some other news breaks. So maybe SGC will come out and say, hey, we're going back to $25 again, right? I don't know. I don't know. That's not based on any insider trading or anything I'm hearing. But anyone can change their prices backwards or forwards. And so maybe, and frankly, I'm hoping that's what happens. I don't have any information that says it will or it's going to, but I'm just, I love that company. I love the brand. They're a sponsor of the show. I think they're the most accurate grader in the business. But I also need to be at a price level that makes sense for my inventory right now. They're not there yet anymore. So, we'll see. Every week a new story breaks with the grading, and so there's nothing to say that this can't come back necessarily the other way. Not anticipating that, but you just don't know anymore in this current landscape of events when it comes to the hobby. So you just don't know. So more of a pause, maybe a little bit to CSG, kind of dip my toe in those waters, if you will.
Five, four, three, two, one.
sequence.
Real happy to have my next guest on the 101 Sports Card guest line. He's an executive assistant at VaynerMedia. He's one of the hosts of CardTalk Pod, and he's taught Gary Vaynerchuk everything he knows. Lou Geneux, welcome to Sports Card Nation.
Thank you, John. I think it's the other way around. I don't think I've taught Gary too much, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for making some time for the show. So let's. I know you probably get asked this a lot. You know, what's that like? You've been with them double-digit years now with the company. You know, what's that like? You know, I'm sure a lot of people out there think it's all roses and daisies, and I'm sure it's great. You wouldn't change anything, but just speak to sort of that. After 10 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've actually known Gary for 20 plus years now.
Yeah.
Him and my dad used to do business together at the wine store at a wine library in Jersey, and they became really close friends via the Jets. And so I became friends with him that way. My first memory of Gary is not my first memory, but one of the ones that stand out early is we took a road trip up to Pittsburgh in 2004 for Jets Steelers, and that's
I'm a Steeler fan. So
you are okay. So the Doug Bryan game, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was a Packers fan when I was a kid because I love Brett Favre.
Yeah.
That game, they obviously missed 2 field goals. All that happens. As the story goes, my dad turned around and I was crying, and that's the day that he knew that I was a Jets fan because he's like, "Oh my God, this kid's depressed about this playoff game." So that's like one of my early memories. We took a road trip, all that stuff. But so I started at Vayner when I was 17. I did a summer internship there, and then I came back. I graduated high school June 22nd or something like that, and I was at Vayner July 12th. And so I've kind of just tried to get in where I fit in. I didn't necessarily have a direction of what I was trying to do when I first got to Vayner. I was just a kid. Like, I'm still a kid, but I was a super young kid. Just stupid, doing whatever. And I've now gotten to the point where I am one of Gary's assistants. There's 2 of us. It's myself and Alex Raffington. She's the best. She's the one who really keeps the train rolling. But it's wild. It is wilder than anyone. Whatever you think it is, it's 100% wilder than that. It's weird. Like, people ask me, like, when are you working? And the answer is like always. I'm always on. It's just a matter of, am I doing something? Like, this morning I was playing Call of Duty. Like, I did a Instagram live for our show. I hung out. I was playing video games. Then Gary FaceTimed me. We FaceTimed for 20 minutes. I got some work done. Been doing this, and then I'll go back to doing some work. You know what I mean? So it's almost
like being on call. It's just whenever.
Yeah, I'm just always on call. I'm always doing something. But it's good, man. It's really good. I've learned so much, and I was in the regular Vayner, without getting too much into it, I was in the regular VaynerMedia agency world for a while, and after a while, I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do, And luckily for me, and very lucky for me, Gary's like, listen, come over here. We'll figure something out. You'll figure out what you want to do, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of what it is now. I get a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. Sports cards being a prime example of that. Every day is a new adventure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that, and very cool. So, well, let's one kind of quirky question: if you had $1 for every time your name was mispronounced or misspelled, how many dollars would you have?
I would have probably 10 Jordan Fleer PSA 10s. It's pronounced. So my dad pronounces it Geneux. I say it's Geneux.
Yeah.
It was Geneux my entire life, and then all of a sudden, my dad started saying Geneux at some point. So I say Geneux, Geneux. It's a weird one for sure, but it's just one of those. You just get used to it after a while. I don't even think of it as like something that's like annoying or whatever. I'm just used to it.
Have you ever asked your dad like why the switch up? Like if he's like
and then he tries to tell me it was always Geneux, and I'm like, so where did I get Geneux from? Like I was always Geneux, so like how are you going to tell me that it's now Geneux and I was just saying it wrong and you never corrected me? For some reason, changed. I think if I had to guess, it's because most people do say Geneux when they see my name, they say Geneux. So I think he kind of just started rolling with it.
Yeah, if I didn't know already, obviously I know your name, but if I didn't know and I just read it, I would say it the wrong way. Obviously,
I got Geneux. I get Genois every once in a while. That's a classic. My boys from high school know Genois. It gets weird for sure.
Yeah, I was listening to you on Card Talk Pod, and I didn't realize this. So I've been in the hobby a long time. Like I said, I'm old. I'm 48. Been 30 something years, almost 40 years in the hobby. My first national, as embarrassing as it is to admit, was the same one I believe you said, the 2019 in
2018,
Chicago.
Yeah. 2018,
Okay, all right.
2019,
Yeah,
one of those.
yeah.
Whatever one was in Chicago last, that's the one.
2019. Yep, 2019. And it was both. So it was both our first nationals as people in the hobby. And you said something, and you nailed it right on the head, Lou. You were saying, you watch videos, you kind of wanted to get some perspective even before you came on scene. Mm-hmm. And like you said, this what you thought, even with that little game, if you will, it was still beyond what you even thought. And hearing you say that, it's what I've said on this very show. Mm-hmm. I did this very similar things, talk to other people. For me, as a dealer for a long time, I always kind of viewed it as just a big show. It's not it's cool, but it's not a must go event type of thing. If you can, it's cool. And I think in the early days, I think it sort of was. It's become what I call now the Super Bowl of the hobby. I think it's what we know it as today. Let's be truthful. It's not always been to that level, but that doesn't matter. That's where it's at now. But hearing you, just kind of speak to, for me, nothing. I'm a New York City kid, so nothing really like surprises me or shocks me too much. I've seen a lot of stuff, but walking in there, and I was there 4 days, not the whole week, but 4 days, and just whatever I thought, it was like you said, it was past that. Just sort of your, chiming in on that.
Yeah, it's mind blowing because for me, I was 6-8 months back interested in cards at that point, right? So like I'm keeping tabs on things. I'm not as into it as I am now, right? So I'm like, oh, this would be cool. Like Gary's like, yeah, we're going to the show. There's like a gazillion people there. Like they got everything. I'm like, okay, like whatever. Like it's just another thing. Like it's funny. We were just laughing about it, Tyler and myself and Gary last week, and because Gary will be like, yeah, we're going. It's like, okay, cool. Like I'm in the mix of like everyday life, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like we're going, whatever. I'll watch some vlogs. Sounds interesting. Cool. So I pack up. I get there. I got there Tuesday to do setup for our tables, and even then I was like, what is going on here? Yeah. What is happening here? There's a gazillion people here, and then I was actually like tied down to the table most of the weekend. I got a chance to walk around like twice, and it's unbelievable. Everything you can think of is there. Whether you're looking for trading cards, like TCGs, you're looking for random sports, you're looking for old memorabilia, like historical pieces, like all that. It's got everything. It's unreal. And I can't even, fingers crossed they figure it out for the summer. It's going to be insane if it happens this summer.
Yeah. I just had Ray Schulte, the director of media relations for the National, on 2 weeks ago. And I told him, I said, if, like you said, fingers crossed, we get some good news with the COVID-19 and the vaccines rolling out, and this event happens. It's going to set all sorts of attendance records. I believe that the hobby, as we both know, is just at a crescendo that's never been, the likes have never been seen before, and it's not slowing down. We're not even, it's like a lot of people say, it's early innings of this game. This is not. We're not even in the crunch time yet. And so if this event happens, it's just going to be interesting, like you just said, to see how, number one, the venue is going to handle, I think, the influx. You got to remember, I know the Dallas show has become sort of the de facto national for a lot of people. But, the true national didn't take place last year. And so people are really itching for the one with that title, the national. And so not having it last year, I think is going to build up even more anticipation if it does go down. And so I expect, I don't know what the prior attendance record is, but I expect that record to fall, and maybe not
a comfortable margin.
Much. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even think it's going to be that close. I think it might fall a lot earlier than people realize into the show. And so we'll see. Like, someone asked me that in the hobby, like, that never went, after I came back, like, how what's the show like, John? If someone's
Right.
never been and that's your first one, and you kind of said it. If it exists, it's probably in that building. Like if it exists, it's here. Even if it's one of something, it's most likely in this building. It's almost like besides a card show, it's sort of a museum, a history. It's got something for everyone. I think even if you're not necessarily big into cards, you can still spend the day there and have some sort of fun and interest. Just maybe even just watching people, if that's all.
Yeah, it's interesting. Going off of the past one, and then I have a thought I want to share, like on the future ones. But like, whether you want to go watch you could literally go in there. I could have went there in Chicago last year and watched breaks all day 2 years ago. I can't imagine what it's going to be like now with the breaking, because breaking is now Ryan, our co-host, says it all the time. Breaking runs the hobby. Like it's the thing it's the straw that stirs a drink, right? So I can only imagine how many people are going to be breaking there, what that's going to be like. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was the types of people collecting, right? It's not just your typical middle to like 40 something, 50 something year old dude anymore. Like we go to Dallas and it's teenagers and early 20s kids all day long. I'm old for that show. I'm 26. I'm old for that show. Like it's
where's that put?
I'm saying, like, man, like it's crazy.
I've got to be taken out back and let.
Listen. The other part. So here's the other part, right? Like it's a lot of young kids, and they're talking to us, blah blah blah. And I'm like, listen, you don't know what's going on. These guys who have been around for a while, they know the deal. Yeah. The guys who have had the same table for the last 3 years as this show, they get their spot guaranteed. They're the ones to talk to. Don't talk to me. I don't know shit compared to. Sorry, I don't know. Right. I don't know anything compared to those guys. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of both, and that's why I think it's actually the hobby is in a really interesting point. What happens sometimes is old school hobbyists get a little bit upset about the new school and like a lot of the flipping and all that. But I think there's such a good opportunity for like a melting pot of information for people who have the old school hobby knowledge and people who are new school who approach it a little bit differently, and how those two things play off each other and how, quite honestly, both of them need each other to succeed.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. You sound like a little bit like me. I'm that old school guy, but I'm sort of like you said. Some of the old school guys, Lou, aren't real warm and receptive to a lot of the new folks, and I'm the opposite. I don't know why. Maybe I see the big picture for what it is. If we want this hobby to continue and thrive, I'm not going to listen at 48. I've said this already on my show numerous times. That's life. I'm not going to be here forever, right? None of us are, right? Hopefully a little bit more time, but we need people coming up. We need that young group coming up behind us that grab the baton, keep the race rolling forward. If we're sort of territorial and I was here first type of attitude, then the hobby's not going to thrive. And people who even say, "Well, I'm a collector. I'm not really worried what my card's worth." It sounds good, but they're
it's not true.
Yeah, it's not true. They're looking at eBay comps just the same. So it may sound good. They may tweet it out that that's the case. But those folks, I'm not saying all of them. I'm sure there's a few exceptions, but a good 90% of them are probably still just not advertising the fact they want to see what their values of this stuff is worth.
Of course they do. It would be like, you're right. I'm sure there are certain people who have cards and they don't care what they cost, right? 100%. Yeah. These people who have these higher end, rare 90s basketball inserts, 70s baseball, 60s baseball, they care. They're lying to themselves and to everyone else if they say they don't care.
Yep. Nope. I agree. And, I don't know why. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's an albatross or something bad to say, hey, I don't do it for financial reasons or money, but yeah, I do care. I do like to see what my stuff's worth. Nothing terrible about just saying that. Like, well, I even have to put up a little facade, if you will,
Yeah, I think it's just the thing of like, it's when you do something early, you want to keep it the way it is, right? It's the same thing as I've seen it. I did sneakers a little bit in 2010 or like 2009, 2010. It's the same thing with music. It's the people who are in it. It's when you see a band and no one's heard of them yet, and then they come out with an album. If you like Blink-182 and then one day they come out with Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, you're like, that's not Dude Ranch. That's not the that probably means nothing to you. But like people who love Blink-182, are like, that's not the band that I know, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's the same old stuff. It happens every time. And it's actually funny now. It used to be just the old school collectors were mad at the flippers, quote unquote, right? Yeah. Now the dealers are mad at the young kids too, because now a lot of the younger kids have built up enough bankroll and enough capital to be able to buy the higher end pieces.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
And not even necessarily need to do business behind the table. You can do business online and cut your overhead costs down. You can. I'm an LCS guy. I had a store from 92 to 97. I love card stores. They're making. You've seen them make a comeback. Ryan opened his. Ryan's been on the show, by the way, and opened his a couple years ago. I believe in them. I think they're important. But there's people making a lot of bank without having to do it in a brick and mortar setting. And so I think there is another great point by you. I think there's some angst there is, hey, I'm doing all the work. I'm booking the venues. I'm traveling, paying for airfare, getting my card shipped there. And here's this, 20-something-year-old guy walking around with 50,000. I remember, this will tell you how old I am, Lou. I remember doing shows, and if someone walked around with $1,000 or $2,000, it was like a big deal. And now that's nothing.
Kid's got $100,000 in a backpack in Dallas.
Yeah. Which would make me I'm an adult and I can, handle myself a little bit, but that would still make me nervous. Like,
I
when
couldn't agree more.
Deal, we're both from the tri-state there. Like, you're just you're just making yourself sort of a target there,
I agree.
I hope, obviously, I hope nothing bad happens. I'm not wishing. I'm just saying, man, if, I wouldn't carry that sort of dough around. Having it or not having it, just the principle of it. We're going to step aside for a quick break to hear from one of our great sponsors, Iron Sports Cards. But after that, we'll be right back with Lou Geneux. Let me tell you about Iron Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're your number one source for all your PSA submissions. They offer various service levels at the lowest prices around. They even provide the card savers your cards need to be submitted at no extra charge. Their elite status helps improve turnaround times, and their chat rooms keep you abreast of your subs and the status of your cards. What are you waiting for? Contact Rob on Facebook on Iron Sports Card Group. That's Iron Sports Card Group on Facebook. Or get a hold of Rob on Twitter at Iron Sports Cards. All one word, at Iron Sports Cards. They'll take care of you. Sports Card Nation is back with Lou Geneux.
The good news is, in my experience, for the most part, it's all been good vibes at all these places, right? Because because here's the thing, cards really blew up in the last year and a half, really the last year, and everyone's been in their house. So we're getting outside now, and so far, it's been all good vibes. Anyone I see who has that, I don't carry that on me at all. Yeah. Anyone who is at a show with a lot of stuff needs to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, keep it in your bag. You got it. I know there's a limit of ATMs. There's wire transfers. I mean, there's other ways to, do a deal.
PayPal.
PayPal, yeah.
Stand there with your phone and go on PayPal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would never, like, when I travel, and I travel, I'm going to the Dallas show in May. Hopefully, maybe I'll see you there as well. Yeah. But I'm going to buy some stuff, but I'm not going to walk around and just take that risk. Heck, forget about someone stealing it. Maybe I dropped it or something, and someone's going to pick that up. You think they're going to, there's, again, exceptions to rules. Some honest people. But if you find $10,000 on the ground, maybe you would do the right thing. There's going to be someone say, holy crap, I just found $10,000.
I just found $10,000 on the ground. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
it's a work in progress for sure. It feels like,
and you're taking out your phone out of your pocket. There's stuff going on left and right. Someone can, maybe it's the New York City kid in me. I'm always sort of head on a swivel. Someone kind of come up behind you, bump into you, hand in the pocket, that old pickpocket. Just too much.
They're not going to play us, nervous. John. They're not going to play us.
Well, I don't give them the opportunity. So like you said, there's PayPal and there's other ways to buy and transact without having it necessarily in your pocket or in your backpack. So we, speaking of the hobby blowing up, the grading has been a big catalyst to that. They got overwhelmed with the pandemic and being short staffed. I don't think that's the only reason. I don't want to give them 100% free pass. We just had PSA announced they're only going to take Super Express and Express. That's without a bulk submitter. That's $300 and $600 a card. That's super high end for the most part. Then SGC, who's actually a sponsor of my show, and I'm going to be very honest. I talked to Peter Steinberg, and I'm not besmirching them where I didn't talk to them first. I told them I thought it wasn't a great idea. They went from $25 a card to now $75 a card. So that's 3 times the price to submit a card. I understand, just as you probably do, Lou, the reason before it. They're sort of getting backlogged. SGC's reacting to PSA's decision, expecting them to be overwhelmed with cards. So they sort of quick jerk need reaction to that and just said, hey, we're going to 75, maybe to hold the people off at the door. And I know why, and there's people who love it and applaud it. And I don't know, maybe it's the old guy in me. I just don't like, everything in life goes up, right? Cable bill, your electric bill, your phone bill, and so it's just another thing that's going to join that. So I'm a little bit of the old man on the porch, sort of like saying, why do we have to do this? I get why, but I think in SGC's case too, is that I don't know if this is really going to work out for them long term. They're getting crucified in social media terms. I'm sure you've seen it. The timing of it, they announce it on April 1st. Matter of fact, I've told the story. A buddy of mine who knows that they're a sponsor texted me at 4 a.m. I was sleeping. I did not see the text at the time of it being sent, but I woke up at like 6:30 and saw I had a missed text and read it. He said, John, I'm hearing a rumor that SGC is going from $25 to $75. And I knew what date it was. And so at this point, I hadn't heard anything. I texted him back like, hey, man, what's today? It's April 1st. Take that with a grain of salt. I don't think it's legit. I think someone's going to have, just having fun. And there we are now. It's legit. And I just thought, like, to me, if you're going to do that, Lou, like, why not do that on the 31st? Why not do it on the 2nd? I know someone said, what's the difference? It's 24 hours or 48 hours. It's just that when you do that on the 1st, what the people are going to think it's a joke, right? How many people did post jokes? So it happens every year. It's not a new phenomenon. Why not just do that a day early? If you're going to do it, I don't think it's a good idea to do it, period. But if that's the powers that be made that decision, why do it on the 1st? So sort of your thoughts of what's going on in the grading space right now across the board.
Yeah, I'll also open with I'm friendly with Peter. Peter's, by the way, like one of the best dudes around.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
He's the nicest guy ever.
He's smart. Listen,
super smart.
I know he's a sponsor of the show, and he listens to the show, and I talk to him. I am not attacking Peter's intelligence level. He's smarter than me, and all that good stuff. But I just thought, the timing of it and the perception of it, a lot of people are like, they're not worth that much. I'm done with them forever. Can you come back? I know why they did it, but can you come back? I guess that's the $1 million question. And we're going to have to obviously let time tell that story, but go ahead. I just wanted to get that with Peter. So
totally.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So on the PSA front, I think I have a fairly unpopular opinion. My opinion is I'm of two minds. One, they can't just continue here's my perspective of, I just want my cards back fast, right? Let me give you both perspectives. Yeah. I want my cards back fast. They cannot continue to accept cards at the current volume they are. And I've had a 20-day out. I've had a 20-day PSA submission out. It was 20 since July of last year. Yeah. I don't have it back, right? So they can't continue to do that. It is not good for the health of their business, right? The business side of it, they were a publicly traded company who had no time, and one day they came to the end of the rainbow and found the pot of gold. And everyone under the sun was submitting to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You buy a card for $15, you submit it for $20, and you sell it for $500 over and over and over and over again, right? So they don't have time to figure out the logistics of how to handle that, how to handle all the graders, how to handle intake, how to handle encapsulation, how to get everything out. Like these are all very logistical questions that you have to they were trying to figure out on the fly while their business is exploding. At the same time, it became clear they were trying to sell their business. So when you're trying to sell your business, you're definitely not worried about logistics now, right? They're just trying to keep the gravy train rolling, keep their investors happy for now, and then keep their potential buyer happy. New buyer comes in, Nat, led by Nat, phenomenal collector, seems like the best dude. I have not spoken with Nat, but seems like a really nice guy. If I had a guess, probably walked in the door and was like, we got to fix some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because of course the money machine's going to keep printing, but eventually you will make people upset to the point where they no longer want to submit to you, right? Eventually, the rubber would have hit the road there. They would have kept raising prices, and the rubber would have hit the road, and then people would have submitted to them less. In my opinion, shutting down for 1, 2, 3 months to figure out their logistics, catch up on their backlog, come up with a new pricing structure, and say, July 1st, say, hey, guys, we're back. You want your cards in 20 days? It's going to cost you X number of dollars. You want your cards back eventually, it'll cost you X number of dollars or Y number of dollars, whatever, right? So to me, it was an inevitable fix to just rip the Band-Aid off, try to make some changes on the fly, and then get back rolling. Because for me, I would never complain, because to me, for the 99% of cards I buy and grade, I'm trying to sell those cards to get into bigger cards, right? Yeah. And higher end pieces. So to me, as long as the math works out, I will continue to submit. It takes longer. It is what it is. I'll try to submit. I'll do higher service levels, whatever. Eventually, I just need the math to work out. So they're going to come back. If I had a guess, I don't know. I have no information. They're going to come back and they're going to say, hey, you want your cards back in 20 days? It's going to be $500. Right. And that's going to blow people's minds, and people are going to be upset. But now I go to here's the third side of my point. From PSA's side, they're saying, wait, you're only giving me $20 and you're making $500? I want a bigger piece of the pie.
Well, that's the upcharges. That's the upcharge. They already sort of do that, though.
I understand, but the upcharges couldn't keep up with the velocity of the market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they want a bigger piece of the pie too. They are entitled to it, because for me, if I'm buying a card and I grade it and I buy my Acuna, and I buy it for $100 and I grade it, and now it's $500 if it's a 10, and I'm only paying them $20 all day long. Is there a number that's too high? Absolutely. I think they're entitled to a bigger piece of the pie. They need to figure out how high can they go before people are upset. So that's my perspective on the PSA thing. I'll let you jump in there, and then I want to talk about SGC.
Yeah, here's my thing. I'm not a big upcharge fan. It hasn't really. I've submitted to PSA. It's probably happened I less than what I could count on one hand, just a few times. I don't like it. And to me, here's my thing. I don't necessarily disagree with what you said, the premise of it, but you're grading one card regardless. Why? Because you should be honored that, hey, I trust you with this more expensive, this higher end card. Why do I get penalized, you know what I mean, for sending that Acuna that might be 500, 1,000, or even we both know even whatever, higher than that.
Yeah.
You're grading one card. I think, why are you charging more for doing the same service? Yes, it's a more premium card. It's a more expensive card, but you're still providing the same service. It's like a valet parker, right? If I come in with my Sportage and it's $25, and then the guy comes behind me in the Bentley, you know, maybe he's going to give a bigger tip than I would, but why should he? It's you're doing the same thing. I get now. Again, that's where the tip, but I mean, the charge should be the same for the same service provided.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I hadn't thought about it that way. I just think when it comes to PSA, again, just to be like really frank and honest, like.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
The reason the backlog is what it is because people are grading cards and they're selling them.
Yeah.
So you don't have an unlimited license to print money, and PSA is not entitled to make more money too.
But here's what's going to happen. I think you nailed it right there. But what's going to happen is in the 3 months they've shut down those lower levels. What are people doing? They're still buying raw cards with the intent to, if they pass the eye test, hey, I'm going to submit this when PSA opens back up. Like you said, might be some new price changes, some new levels. But So they're catching up on that backlog, and then if that's why I say I agree with you. I think they're going to raise prices, because if they don't, here comes the onslaught 2.0, and they're right back in the same boat again.
And hopefully, right? But hopefully, on top of the price changes, they've dramatically improved their logistics. They've improved their intake process. They've trained up graders properly. They have enough room to get all the grading. You know what? It's not just shut down and then they come back and it's the exact, because if that happens, that's a real problem. That's a massive problem.
Yeah.
But if they come back and hopefully things are better, even if it's not 20 days anymore, it's 40, it's 6, their minimum, their max level, like, you know what I mean? Like, as long as there's some form of better logistics that they can hold themselves to, and they know if we're getting 500,000, I don't know what the number is, if they're getting 100,000 cards a month, they can get pretty close to committing to their turnaround times. So that's my follow up PSA.
Yeah, that's what I like to see. I know it's hard, and when you're getting the influx they are, it's hard to. I'm not raking them over the coals for that. But I'd even like if they come back, like you said, and I think you're exactly right. I think they're gonna come back in whatever 2 months, 3 months, as people think they're actually gonna come back even sooner than the July 1st target date. Maybe it is or it isn't. I think they come back with new price levels. What I'd like to see is something built in there that says, listen, like you said, maybe 20 days, $500. There are going to be a lot of people who don't like that. But if they're going to do that, that's their business. It's who am I to tell them how to run their business, right? But if they do that, I'd like to see something go back the other way. In other words,
Absolutely.
It's $500 for 20 days, and for each day we're late, we'll take off $20 off the bill.
Sure.
So if we're 10 days late, you're going to get it's going to cost you $300.
That's a good idea. That's honestly a really good idea.
Yep. There's got to be some honest. It's got to be a two-way street. It can't be just one-sided.
I agree, and I think there could be an economy option that is, hey, your turnaround times are not guaranteed, but we're only going to charge you $30 a card you know what I mean? Like, because there's always going to be room for.
Well, I think you're going to have to do that, because if you make it too expensive, you're going to eliminate a good portion.
But they might not. This is the thing we talked about on the show as well. They might not want those cards.
Yeah, but
they might not want the lower end stuff. You know.
They may not want it, but it's still money. I'm not. I don't believe.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know.
Away. Whatever, like you said,
you can make that argument.
Make it $40 and just say it's when you get there's no guarantee when you're getting it back, but it's $40, and when you get them back, you get them back. You know what I mean?
But to use your term, right? Like Bentley doesn't make a $40,000 car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's something to that. I don't know if that's how it's going to work out. Whatever. Anyway.
Going to step aside for a quick break to hear from one of our another great sponsors, Hotbox Cards, and their monthly wax subscription service. Hey folks, tired of going to the retail store and finding the wax shelves cleaned out bare? I've got the answer for you, and that answer is Hotbox Cards. They offer a monthly subscription service at a great price level. What's better than getting a box of sports cards on your doorstep every month? Not a whole lot, and these boxes don't cost a whole lot. Let me tell you what's in each and every hot box. 3 Relic Auto cards, 3 unopened hobby packs, 50 bonus cards featuring stars, rookies, semi-stars, inserts, and parallels. And 1 in every 5 boxes has a red-hot envelope with a surprise card. They also honor expired redemptions with a comparable item, so there's no worry about getting that old redemption card with nothing to show for it. Check them out at www.hotboxcards.net and put in promo code SCNation, SCNation all in caps, to get a 4th free hit instead of the usual 3. In April, they are celebrating opening day by giving away a 2020 Topps 582 Montgomery Club Gavin Lux rookie auto. We are back with Lou Geneux.
On the SGC side, very unfortunate. Extremely unfortunate. Yep. It's the reality of the business. You only have so many graders. You can only guarantee so many cards. I guarantee, I've never talked to Peter. I feel pretty confident they know how many cards each grader can look at each day. Then it's just a matter of, this is how many cards arrived today. Can we commit to 20 days on each of these cards? It's pretty straightforward. So the only thing, rather than shut down, the only thing you can do is higher the barrier of entry and lower your intake. That's it. Otherwise, they're going to be back in the same spot they were.
Yeah.
SGC2, same spot.
Yeah, and where they're getting crucified, Lou, is their own marketing campaign is blowing up in their face. They do take pot. I actually laugh at some of them. They're ingenious at the time, and then they drop the ball, and then they get like that gets pointed out, right? They put, one of their marketing slogans was "We hate price increases too," right? And then what do they do, right? We hate backlog. So they sort of poke the bear being PSA, and then they, in a sense, they kind of shoot themselves in their own foot with their own marketing plan that comes back and haunts them. It's people literally are screenshotting those and like putting them up and say, "What did you say?"
That's one of the downfalls of the internet, is that the internet never
Yeah.
lies. And the other part of it is, like, it's easy to poke the bear when you're at the top of the tree.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Until the bear starts climbing up the tree, and that bear being influx of cars arriving to their warehouse.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And Peter's told me, like, hey, we know PSA is one of the leaders. We feel we're right there. We don't care so much what they do. We're going to do things our own way. We want to be the leader. We don't get to be the leader by always following someone else. And then they sort of kind of let PSA. So, literally PSA makes that announcement, and then the next day, now we're 75. So that, it's kind of like a little bit of double speak. I know there's reasons for it. I'm not in that room. I'm not, Peter, like we both said at the start when we started talking about, is a smart guy. I would not say otherwise, because I know it's not true. It's a little bit of head scratching there for me, the timing of it, and not thinking what could be the long-term repercussions of this decision. Why not do $50? I mean, I guess it's easy to play armchair CEO grading company, right?
Exactly.
And we all do it.
It's the realities of business. That's it.
Yeah.
It's easy to say we're $25 when you're getting 1,000 cards a day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. But that's what a lot of people are pointing out to is people are going to say SGC is not PSA to do that kind of price increase. What are they thinking? Like, they have an overvaluation of themselves here that's going to come back and bite them in the butt.
You could say that, but I would take the other side of that argument, and I truly believe this as well. Like, good for them for being committed to sticking to their turnaround times, because you have two options. You can either keep your prices where they are and make everybody mad when they don't come back in 20 days, or you can raise the prices and try to keep your turnaround times.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
those are your two options.
And I don't disagree with that. I'm coming from this as someone who's their sponsor. I'm worried about the long term for their company. Like, for the 2 cents that my take is where I just worry that this could go a different sort of way. I mean, there's no guarantees, as we know, in the hobby, and we'll have to let it play out and see what happens. But
I think there's room for everybody, and I hope it works out for him. I really do.
Yeah. So speaking of the hobby, Lou, it's on fire right now. It's an inferno. It's bounced from one genre to the next. We've seen non-sports take the lead from the sports, and that stuff is incriminately has went up and shot through the ceiling. Everyone, there's two sort of. I'm sure you get asked all the time. I get asked all the time. How does this movie end? Like, there's generally two trains of thoughts, right? One is, hey, there's going to be a market correction. Not going to be a crash. The hobby's too strong. Some things are going to settle down and come down. I kind of fall on that side of the aisle. Then you got your doomsday folks that say this thing is really the bubble is going to just burst. People are going to be left holding the bag. This hobby is going to really take like a plane going down. You're going to hear it zzz, and it's going to be a crash, right? And so I already kind of gave I would fall on the market correction side. What say you, like, or maybe have a different take on where you think this goes?
Well, I will say for the doom and gloom guys and girls, we've been hearing the same doom and gloom for 3 years. So yeah. I don't have a lot of energy for the doom and gloom people. It's clear that's not accurate. And for those people, you should sell your cards then. You should sell your cards. Put your money where your mouth is and sell your cards and get out.
Not to cut you off, but I'm going to stop you. Like, if you think this is going down quick, now's the time, like you just said, apropos right there. Now,
no better time.
If you think the ride's in for disaster, get off the ride now and cash out at the high point, right?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to pay anyone 10 in one of our friends. I have a couple group chats. Whenever I'm happy to pay you 10% above what you paid, and you can call it a day. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I would say the market correction thing is right. I think there's obviously something to the fact that there are an outrageous amount of base cards. There's a lot of base cards floating around. There's a lot of slabs floating around of everything. There's Chronicles. I'm a guy. I don't do a lot of the older stuff. I would say I primarily focus in the newer end, and then I do like 90s Pokemon. That's what I do. So there's a lot of Chronicles and Hoops and all of this, and Topps opening day. People are slabbing Topps opening day, and I'm like, what are we doing? So that stuff, I think, is obviously due for a correction. It's inevitable. Some of them will work out because one or two of these guys will be extremely talented players, and that'll play out. Everything else will unfortunately go down, and unfortunately someone will be left stuck with that stuff, and that's unfortunate. But when you, again, like, to take a word like you said, again, when you get on the ride, you gotta be ready to play the game. So that's how that goes. I have found myself in the last few months not focusing as much on the base stuff, and I'm trying to move into the other things. When you think about, I tend to think this might be wrong, and I could be dead wrong about this. I would love to hear from you. A lot of times this stuff is like a stock market, and you're buying and selling guys, and you're trying to move up the ranks, and you're trying to buy more things, and that's how this stuff gets day traded. You see it on apps like Dibs or places like Collectible and all that stuff, and all these, like, there's literal trading windows happening. And I think the same thing happens on a day-to-day basis on Star Stock and ComC. And it has been happening on those places. It's ComC longer because they've been around for longer. And that's just how this stuff goes, right? You get an incremental bump and you move on. So I do think that stuff will eventually not work out. I can't imagine the number one joke, and I hope Bol Bol never hears this because he's probably a wonderful guy. But a lot of people joke about buying Bol Bol. I can't imagine that stuff works out too much in the long term.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, so that's where I land on that.
Yeah, even Taylor Horton Tucker from the Lakers.
Yeah, that's another one.
Scrimmage game, and like everyone's running to the platforms and no, with all full disclosure, I'm selling. Like my stuff by him because I'm not saying he's going to be terrible, but he ain't going to be what you're paying today for.
100% right. We talked about it on our show. It actually happened. It was very funny. Like it not worked out. It's unfortunate that it worked out this way, but opening day of the NFL, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire had like they had like 2 touchdowns or whatever. Yeah, and we get on the site, we use this website as well, StreamYard, to record. And I'm like, hey guys, let's pop up eBay and talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire today. And is Don Russ is doing $100, and I'm like, the three of us were like, anyone buying this is making a huge mistake. The other side of that coin is, we said it last week on our show as well, is when I sell something, I hope it works out for that person. I don't want it to fail. There's no point in my life where I think I'm selling this at the top and it'll never be better and this person's going to lose and blah, blah. But unfortunately, it's the realities of the thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want everyone to win. I'm a compassionate person. I don't root against people. That sort of goes against how I was brought up and raised. But at the same time, like, I'm not also making someone buy that. That's their own
100%.
This is America, right? I'm not forcing you to do anything. That these are your own choices, and so I don't necessarily feel bad, but I just hope they do their research and their due diligence and kind of look long term and like say, hey, what am I doing here? I do that when I make a purchase. I'm not like you. I'm not right all the time. I'm wrong too. No one gets it right 100% of the time.
100% correct.
If you can be right 60 to 70%, you'll probably be all right, unless that 30 or 40% are some big numbers.
Big ones. But yeah, listen, we're not holding anyone over a barrel. I hope they have their reason for what they purchased for, and they see an outlook that I don't. And it's the way I also see it is like, there's a lot of times where I sell, like, if I sell, I don't know, I sold an Mbappe. I got an Mbappe sticker. I sold it last weekend. I paid my number for it. I got my increase on it, and I sold it. That person who bought that card is going to make money on that card. But I'm in it to it goes up and up and up, and you get it,
Yep.
and you take your percentage and you move on. I hope everyone wins.
Yeah.
That's always how it is.
And now it's that person's business who bought it to what they're going to do or not do with it next. And you can't, we're only responsible for our own actions. We can't,
Absolutely.
force people to do anything. Going to step aside for a minute to hear from our national sponsors. But when we come back, more with Lou Geneux as we close out the interview with him. So you can correct me if I'm wrong coming down the home stretch here. I believe we have a similar view on Top Shot and soccer related stuff. I'm not a fan. Maybe it comes from a place, Lou, of specifically with Top Shot. I don't get it. It's you're bidding, you're opening packs with, it's NFT. It's video clips that are where I'm sort of like, if it exists, great. If it don't, it's not real, kind of a thing. And it's obviously not a lot of people think like me that thing is a gold mine, or at least some are claiming it is. And I just even you mentioned rallying collectibles. Some people to bag on fractional shares, but at least there's a real item behind that. I may own, and I do participate in that a little bit. I just dabble. So I may own 3 shares of the Jackie. I'm a huge Jackie Robinson guy. So I own 3 shares of a 1949, PSA 7 Jackie Robinson. Mm-hmm. I'm never most likely, unless I win the Mega Millions, going to own the actual card. But I get a kick out of saying, hey, I'm a very small minority owner in a PSA 7 48 Leaf Jackie Robinson. There is substance. There's substance behind. It's like stocks, right? There's a real company there. There's a real item there. But when you're looking at just videos that you would watch on, like if you watch SportsCenter or Fox Sports, and you say you own them, I don't get the premise. I know people swearing that they're making hand over fist money in it. I just won't even do it. Maybe that's the old man in me being stubborn and coming out and just say, if it's not real, I don't want to do it. And I know if I heard you right, I think you sort of this soccer is. I just don't know it. I don't have anything against soccer. It's a sport. I'm not here, and that's a real. Those cards are real. I just not a fan. And I'll be honest with you, I sold a couple of the Chrome Sapphire boxes from the Montgomery Club at a pretty good ROI. Buyer set the price, but I don't know soccer. But I don't, if someone loves soccer like I love baseball, football, and basketball and hockey, then more, but at least there's something real there. I don't know it. I don't follow it. And just the Top Shot stuff, I don't get it,
So on the Top Shot stuff, I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. You need collectors to make the market run. Otherwise, you're begging for an avalanche of problems. I don't get it either. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I get. I get NFTs. I get digitized assets. I don't get it. I have an understanding of it. I would never claim to be an NFT expert. I don't know a single person who is buying Top Shots that's like, hey, I want to have these Top Shots. You know what I mean?
So it's all a shell game. It's a little bit of a shell game.
People are flipping and making money, and more power to them. One thing that I think a lot of collectors don't understand is crypto people have fun. They have all this crypto money and they mess around. They have a ton of Ethereum and Bitcoin, and they mess around and they try new things. And the guy, like, there was some story about some guy who spent like $50,000 and he made like $20 million on Top Shot or some number. I don't remember what the number is. I feel pretty confident saying that guy didn't pay $55,000 of his own money in that. That was earned value, and good for him, and credit to him, more power to him. But I don't see it at all. I don't see it at all either. I think it's a classic example of something that had a hot. The other thing is everyone's chasing the next hot thing, right? So it's a classic example of this little quarantine period here where people are looking for the next hot thing. They see the hot thing, they do it a little bit. There's 150,000 people in line for a drop, and then it's not as interesting anymore. So that's how I feel about that. On the soccer stuff, I don't watch soccer I watch soccer every 4 years. I watch the World Cup,
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't get it at large. I get the main people. I get Messi. I get it, Mbappe. I get Ronaldo, right? My thing about soccer is people in this country just aren't watching it at scale yet. And will they? Probably. I get it. The soccer thing, I understand. And like it or not, the majority of card buyers in the world are in the United States. The whole of it, primarily in the United States, unless I'm completely mistaken. I feel pretty confident in that. So the prospecting that goes on, which is prospecting drives the volume in every sport, whether it's basketball, baseball, especially with minor leaguers, football as well. The prospecting, I just don't understand. And again, when you talk to the people who are doing it, it's people who are like, yeah, I've never really watched Valencia, but I really love Joao Feliz. And it's like, why? Tell me why. And the answer is like, oh, he's a hot prospect. And again, I'm like, tell me why. Help me understand. And I'm the first one to say performance isn't the driver of card sales. Narrative is. But I know when I'm watching baseball, I know that Julio Rodriguez is a player. I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
Soccer, I don't get it. So the Mbappe stuff, I've started to dabble. I can no longer say I never bought a soccer card. I've dabbled. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to figure it out because obviously there's something to it. But I'm like you as well. If I don't understand it, I won't do it. So I missed out on a lot of stuff by not knowing it.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. And that's the thing. It's gotta pique my interest. I gotta feel like I'm part of something. I'm knowledgeable in even in a small form or fashion. I think you nailed something you said there towards the end there is I think there's a lot of people buying and selling soccer cards just on speculation and prospect. They're not even necessarily fans. They might claim to be. I mean, everyone's different. I'm not, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I think a lot of people are seeing what's happening in other sports and saying, hey, let's do this with soccer. Now this guy, by so-called experts, are saying he's this, he's that. And so let's drive that market. And I just wonder how many, are really sitting down and watching 2.5, 3 hours of a football.
Who's up on Saturday morning at 7:00 in the morning watching NBC Sports Network? You know what I mean? Like people don't even know it's on NBC. Like I at least know that. You know what I'm saying? But it happens in other sports too. It happens in baseball now. Like, I'm not sure how much of a fan you are. Are you a Yankees fan? Or you're a Pirate?
No, I'm a Steelers fan of football, which I took a lot of heat growing up in New York City. As a kid, I was a Yankee fan, Lou, and then when Steinbrenner, George, not the boys, started messing around with everything and trading people and getting kind of put himself out in front of the team, I sort of jumped ship and I became a Mets fan. And when I did that, was when they were one of the worst teams, losing 110. So no one could say, "Oh, you jumped on when they won the '86."
Oh, listen, I'm well aware. I was on this train early.
So,
it was tough times for me.
Now you're a Jersey kid, right? How does it? Is it Bregman? I know you're a big.
No, I do love Bregman. Alex Bregman, my favorite athlete. So let me tell you what happened. So I was again same way as you. I was a Yankees fan growing up, and I've actually started to pinpoint it. I was a Yankees fan. And something weird, it was a combination of factors. One, I entered the 11, 12, 13 where you think you're too cool for everything in life. And I was like, I don't care about this. And then separately, I have this weird memory and I still think about it and it makes me nervous when I think about it. I went to a Yankee game and there was a comebacker and it hit the pitcher in the head and the pitcher was knocked out cold. And I was so taken aback by that. I couldn't watch baseball for a while. It really bothered me. I couldn't watch it. So that happened, whatever. And then a couple years later, my best friend growing up, Matt Kaplan, shout out to Matt. He was an Astros fan because his favorite player was Craig Biggio. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to try to start paying attention again. I should probably like a baseball team, but I love baseball. Blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm going to be an Astros fan. They're the worst. This is great. I barely have to pay attention really because they're so bad. I'll just watch. And then the other part of it was I love prospects. I used to play really hardcore fantasy baseball. This is my first year not in the league in 15 years. So I used to love prospects, all that stuff. And I was like, oh, these guys got young guys. This is awesome, cool, whatever. So I like the Astros. And then I found myself in 2015 oh, wait, they're decent. What's going on here? 2016, I'm like, wait, we're getting really good. And then 2017, I'm in Houston in the World Series. And I'm flying to Houston. I'm like, where am I? What is going on here? And I've now found myself in this torture chamber of now they're cheaters, and here I am, and I'm the guy who has to defend the cheaters, and like all this
coming
stuff.
full circle.
Yeah, so now I'm just spent all this time doing all this stuff with the Astros. But what I was getting at, Dominguez, I can't figure it out. No one's seen this kid play.
He's almost like an enigma. I'm glad you brought him up. It reminds me. I don't know if you're young. You may not remember. The Mets did you look it up if you don't know. The Sid Finch. They made a fictional. They said, we just signed this kid. He's a pitcher. He throws 120 miles an hour. He's a phenom. We don't know much about him. It was an April Fool's prank, but the media rolled with it. They produced like a picture of him. They really just kept the going, and then obviously they got caught.
No way.
So I'm not obviously Jason Dominguez is a real
kid.
I'm not trying to besmirch him, but there's a little bit of an element to that. Is like this guy's the next best thing. He's going to change the game, and except in this case, there is someone real, not a fictional made up character. And so, but man, think about being him, and you hear, you got hefty expectations before you even when a lot of these analysis were coming out, he hadn't even really faced real live pitching by draft picks. You know what I mean?
He's a kid from DR who is built like a Mack truck. He's a huge human and probably hits bombs. I get it.
Yeah.
But we posted something because I was looking on eBay one day. We posted something on CardTalk on Instagram. His Atomic Auto 9.5 sold for more than Wander Franco.
That's crazy, man.
Help me understand how that makes any sense. Yeah. There's just no way that makes sense. So it's that. He's a classic example of a hype machine with nothing behind it. And I think that happens in soccer a lot.
Yeah. And here's the thing, where I'm going with this, and I hope I don't root against people, but man, if Jason Dominguez does live up to these expectations, there'll be a lot of people losing some serious amounts of coin on what some of his stuff has went for.
If he becomes Clint Frazier, if he becomes Miguel Andahar, we got real issues for people. And Clint Frazier's a highly rated.
I was going to say those players are good players. They're just not.
They were good players and pretty good ranked prospects. Like Clint was a top 25 guy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
There's real issues if he becomes one of those two guys. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, it's great, and it's a perfect example of the market we're in. I mean, that's probably the poster child, at least on the four major sports
baseball side, 100%.
Yeah, that this is what can happen, and so it's a cautionary tale. We're going to see. I'm not going to lie; it's going to be fun to watch. I hope he's the next, Babe Ruth for everyone else.
I hope he's Mickey Mantle. I hope he's the best.
Some people really upset and kicking and screaming, why did I do that type of deal? So we'll see. He's got and it's funny nowadays. Players know, like players have their finger on they know like never before. They're aware of where they are in the hobby, even with autographs and cards. And 100%. years ago maybe not, but now today's group of players know exactly. A lot of them are doing it now. They've entered the space, and so
Bregman's a collector now. He's posted about it.
Yeah, and even the ones that aren't in the space, they still know enough. Like I know what's going on. Like
we had a bunch of them on our CardTalk Live last week. It's funny. It's kind of like me and my dad were talking about this the other day. Like, remember, I'm sure you remember going to like baseball games or whatever, and you get a guy to sign a baseball, and they won't sign it on the sweet spot. Right in that middle, it's the same. The same way they know how much that's worth. They know what their cards are worth.
Yeah. Well, you always try to hand it to them with that.
Yeah, in the right, and they would flip it over to the top. Right?
I was kind of a shy kid, believe it or not. So I didn't always want to say, "Hey, can you?" I just kind of tried to manually put it in and just cross my fingers.
And they would flip it. I've seen that flip 100 times to the top. It's the worst.
That's the flipping we know back then. Right. That's a different sort of flipping that we're talking about today. So,
that's awesome.
Lou, awesome, man. I appreciate you making some time for us here at Sports Card Nation. Love what you're doing with Card Talk Pod with Gary. I always give whoever's the guest each week the last say. Give out any URLs, websites. social media, where people can find what you're doing and all that good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, John. It means a lot. I was happy you reached out and everything, so I was super pumped. Pretty basic. My Instagram is right here. My card Instagram is right here, at Card Flipping on Instagram. But please follow the podcast. Check it out. Come on, go on our YouTube. Throw the comments on the YouTube. Throw an iTunes review. Anything. Let us know we can do better. Obviously, I feel super lucky to have Ryan. He's like one of the best guys around. He's one of the first people I talked to when I got back into cards.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for him. So anything, we're always learning. We're trying to do better every week. I'm sure we don't do the best, but we're trying. So any comments, anything, I would love to hear from you. Please. Thanks, man.
Yeah. One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way. Pastime Marketplace offers a line of durable graded card cases made for collectors who want high-quality graded card storage that is virtually indestructible. Their cases are waterproof, dustproof, airtight, and designed to protect your valuable collection. Check them all out at www.pastimemarketplace.com. Protect your best with the best. And remember to save 10% off your total order. Use the promo code SCN10. That's capital S, capital C, capital N, 10 for 10% off your total order at pastimemarketplace.com.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
All right, so apparently that's the end of episode 122. As always, folks, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for downloading the show. Thanks for making the show what it's become today as we head to putting 3 years in the book. And, I want to touch on that real quick. When I started this in November of 2018, I was flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't know how many I was going to do. I didn't know how long it was going to last. But quite frankly, if you would have told me, we'd be here at this point, almost 3 years in, what those early shows garnered for attention and downloads, where we'd be today, I would have thought you were crazy, but yet here we are. And not a day goes by I'm not thankful for that. It's opened up some avenues in the hobby for me, and I've got to meet some great people, have some great people on the show, do great things, give away great things to great people. And so I'm very blessed, very fortunate. I want to acknowledge and say thank you. Thank you, Lou Geneux, for coming on the show. Great interview, great guy. Check his stuff out. Just, when you meet genuine people in the hobby, because not everyone is. Let's keep it real here. But when you meet, genuine people in the hobby, it's always refreshing and very cool. And I'm always appreciative of those people because I try to be like that myself. So some programming notes. Got some great Hobby Quick Hits episodes coming up. Those are released on Monday, usually 15 to 20 minutes in length. Just me rambling on about a one topic of the hobby. Here's some future upcoming episodes: fractional shares, how the sausage was made, vintage baseball, under the radar football cards, and under the radar baseball cards, and a lot more episode. I'm starting to, when the idea pops in my head, turning the mic on and getting these things recorded. So I've got a bunch in the can. I got a bunch more ideas written down, and so as my mind works every once in a while, I'll start to put thoughts to words and produce those episodes. So nice on a Monday, a little less of me, just one topic, and succinct to the point, in and out. Never, don't forget, Saturday mornings, Hobby Hotline, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. I'm not on anymore this month, but we got a whole bevy of great guests. Dr. Beckett will be on again. Also, while we're talking about that show, the May show, I believe it will be 22nd show, will be in Dallas. I know a good percentage of the guys that host that show either already live in the Dallas area or we're coming in. Myself, I believe Drew, Val Mars from North Carolina is coming in. Jeremy Lee might make it. Brody the Kid's talking about trying to get down to Texas. And so we're going to have a live on location May, I think, 22nd from the Dallas Show Hobby Hotline. And that show recently has kind of picked up even more steam, and enjoyable show, and fun to do, and just a bunch of different personalities, and talking about all the hot button topics, and always a good time. So don't miss that show before the live on site show, and definitely don't miss that one. So we'll bring this thing to a halt. I want to wish everybody well out there, you and yours, and hopefully remains that way as we, as numbers tend to get a little better, as we get maybe on the better side of everything going on in the world. So with that being said, take care. We'll see you in 7 days. And remember, the hobby is the people.